Hey, folks, welcome to Friendly Orbit, the podcast that draws us together no matter how far we fly. I'm Ceres, repressing my inner demon, but that's a good thing, and I'm joined by.
Thea, and I say, kill them all.
What are we talking about this week, Thea? It's your episode. You deserve to explain it.
Yeah. Well, first episode of the new year.
Mm-hmm.
We're back from our anniversary episode.
Sure, yeah. Episode 51. Here we go.
Yeah, today we're talking about movies, we're talking about monsters, and we're talking about metaphor.
Heyo.
Hey, with the 2025
Hit releases.
hit releases, Sinners and K-pop Demon Hunters, two great movies, and we're going to contrast how they both use monsters as metaphor.
Ignition sequence start. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff.
And we're back. So, this episode will start by quickly going over what the monsters are in each movie without trying to read too much into it, and then we'll begin a discussion about reading meaning into them and contrasting how successfully and how differently the two movies
Yeah.
pull this off.
Seeing as that we spent 2 hours talking about Megalopolis, you can imagine that we were both just bubbling with
Yeah.
ideas and commentary about two full-length feature movies that
They are
actually
good.
that are actually good. Yeah. So we're gonna have to restrain ourselves. You're not gonna get the blow by blow this week of
No.
like everything that happens in these movies
Yeah.
and all of our opinions on it.
We might do that at some point. We might come back to these movies.
It's a shame that we have like two good movies and we don't get to talk about either one in detail because we gotta like stay focused on the one subtopic that unites them and get it in
Yeah.
within an hour long episode. But the plan is, yeah, we get 20 minutes or I can't remember. We get some amount of minutes where we'll just talk generally about each movie in turn, and then we'll get to the heart of the comparison, the monster stuff.
Yeah. So, Sinners.
Sinners, man, I really like that movie.
I know. I knew you would have a field day.
Let's brief summary of Sinners. Sinners is a movie about 1931 Mississippi in which two black gangsters, a black son of a preacher man, and a few a
Kind of mixed cast of characters that
Yeah.
include
would you call her a witch doctor?
a practitioner of hoodoo, a woman who practices hoodoo and is familiar with like pre-Christian Western African spirituality.
Yeah.
An
Do you
alcoholic.
remember her name? That would help.
Annie.
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 Yeah. Okay, so that's Annie for the course of the rest of the movie. Yeah, an alcoholic blues musician called Delta Slim. A woman who's just cheating on her husband, whose
Her name is Pearline.
but she's the love interest for preacher boy.
Yeah.
And basically the two gangsters, they're twins, Smoke and Stack. They want to turn an old sawmill into a juke. What do they call it? A juke jive?
A juke club? No, juke joint.
Juke joint. That's
juke
what it is.
joint. Yeah.
Yeah. So they
Which
want
essentially a blues club.
They want to turn it into a blues nightclub. Specifically for all the black people in the community to go there and feel welcome and have a space where they're safe amongst each other and they can just enjoy blues music, and drink good whiskey or whatever, and then spend their time there. I mean, they're gangsters; they're trying to make money.
Be free is a word that gets repeated a lot. That inside that space they can be free.
They can be free.
They buy it from a white landowner. It appears,
who seems a little racist right off the bat.
but 1930s Mississippi, it's.
We'll find out later that he is actually a Klan member. So
Yeah, but he's not more racist than you would expect. I would say in the beginning, you're like, oh yeah,
the
we're
movie
Mississippi.
misdirects you on him, I guess, to some degree, where they're like, they don't make it clear that he's a member of the Klan.
He's not a
tour. But so basically most of the movie happens within the course of one day. And what's interesting about it is at the start of the movie, they already show us what's happened at the end of the day.
Mhm.
So at the start of the movie, we see Preacher Boy with claw marks on his face, blood all over him, and a broken guitar. And he goes up to his dad, and his dad tells him to, stop playing the guitar, drop the guitar, stop going to nightclubs, stop playing music for, philanderers, who, as he calls them,
Yeah.
um,
And these shots are intercut with brief glimpses of a very violent exchange with some kind
yeah.
of monster man.
Yeah, so that's the start of the movie, and so, like, we know that that's coming, and I guess we know that Preacher Boy survives this, right? And then we get into the movie. Most of the movie is the next 24 hours, right?
Yeah,
That lead up to the
we get together the gang, they collect all the people that they need to start the club, then we go through the club. A very important aspect of this movie that gets told to us through narration in the beginning and then gets re-emphasized, in my opinion, a little too much, but I guess some people maybe weren't paying attention during the test screenings, is that there are various cultures have these sort of like bard characters,
Mhm.
these singers
People who
who
can make music.
music so true that it brings people together and attracts spirits from the past and the future, from the ancestors or descendants, basically people from your same community from different eras, and they all join in together.
That when the music gets good enough, there comes a sublime, transcendent moment in which people from all times and all culture, for a moment,
Well,
right?
not, I mean, all culture, you mean from the culture,
Yeah,
because it's kind of important
I
that it's
mean, in
culture
this case,
specific.
like, yeah, but even in this case, right, the moment that we have in the
Mhm.
movie, like, it's such a mixing pot,
Yeah.
right? Like, there's different parts of Africa represented, there's different parts of Asia
Mm.
represented, right? I can't even remember what, there's different, like,
Well,
time periods
yeah,
represented.
yeah, there's two Chinese people, so we get Chinese
Yeah.
culture. We get
So that was just, for me, that was a really powerful moment. So
that
there's
scene is
this moment,
fantastic.
yeah, there's this fantastic scene where Preacher Boy is singing his song, and this sublime moment happens. We start to see people from the past. Oh, wasn't there a Native American there too? There was a Native American dancer doing the foot dance with the mask.
Well,
I'm
here's
pretty
the
sure
thing.
that's a
I don't know
I'm
Native
pretty
American culture
I'm pretty
enough.
sure that's a Native American
Well,
tradition. So, but he's having this transcendent moment, and all these different types of musics are getting layered in as he's singing. Because it's kind of blues. Almost everything can kind of go with it in a way. And so, like, there's a little bit of electric guitar, there's a little bit of hip hop, but there's also like ancient, like
mhm,
much more ancient like styles of music that are
mhm,
being woven in.
yeah.
And that was a moment where me watching it as an American, I was just like, God damn, am
Yeah.
I proud to be an American? Like, I was watching, that was for me as close as I get to, like, eagle screeching, the anthem playing. I was like, man, it was so cool.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, this is it. This is America, the melting pot where all these people can come together and bring all their culture together and show it off in this one beautiful, transcendent moment of
Mhm.
togetherness. It just gave me goosebumps. And I was like, man,
That scene in the movie theater, like I remember when I watched this movie in a movie theater, like every time I told people, I was like, go watch it in a movie theater.
yeah,
Please
yeah.
do it. Cause like you're not gonna get it.
And then the whole rest of the movie makes you feel awful about being an American. No,
Yeah.
I mean, kind of. So,
I mean, there's a reason that this happens in America within a barn
yeah,
that they need to kind of like defend with their teeth and fight off.
yeah. So let's get into the moment
Oh wait, sorry, little thing.
let's get into the moment with the character who's in Hawkeye. Let's talk about her.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. There is a white woman, or
Mhm.
like mostly white woman
This is
in this
so
mix.
I felt this was so awesome. My mom has done a lot of his research on, like, history of the concept of, like, the tragic mulatto or tragic
Mhm.
hybrid, like, character archetype, and so she had to do a lot of research about, like, American, like, literature that's written about, like, half black, half
What
white,
was that
or
word that you used during the thing that you said she would be called a?
at the time, or maybe even earlier, but the term people would use, she was an octoroon, in the sense
Okay.
that her great grandfather, or sorry, her grandfather was half black, right?
Yeah.
So one of her great
Eighth. There it
grandparents,
is. She's
exactly,
1/8.
she's 1/8 black, and so that would have been, early on in America's history, that would have been known as an octoroon, right? Um, I don't know if that term's offensive. I hope it's not. But she reads as white, right? Like, she passes as white, and this is
Yeah.
a really important part of, like, especially the literary stuff about racism, but also the real life stuff about racism.
And in the movie, it's very important.
Some people in a lot of states and a lot of racist conceptions, right? It was like, oh, one drop of black blood makes you black. Well, there were a lot of white people out there who had a little bit of black ancestry because of whatever reason, but often because plantations were sexually abusive places where slaves were, raped by masters, right? Um, and and so she, by some people's conception, It's like some racists would be like, she's black, right? But of course, a modern audience looks at her and goes, she's white, you know? And how does she fit into this space? You know, she has a relationship to one of the gangster brothers who is, you know, fully black. And he ended his relationship with her prematurely, not because he doesn't like her, but because she's never going to be safe in a relationship with him because she reads as white and he reads as black,
Yeah.
right? And then
They even yeah.
she wants to be a part of this space, but she reads as white, right? When everyone else in there is black.
Yeah.
And this becomes important later because other white people want to join the party and they're like, well, she's in there. Why can't we go in there? Right. And it's like, well, yeah, it's tricky. And because she reads as white and she has the privilege of being white, it's also like a lot easier for her to say to her black gangster ex boyfriend, you should have stayed with me. I could have toughed it out. Because it's like, yeah, you're not the one getting lynched.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
Like, you know, and so it's interesting because she kind of has this privilege, but also has this thing she doesn't fit in with either side. Um, but yeah.
Yeah. No, good character. It's great. I now that we're talking about it, I don't want to get too much into what the musical aspect of this movie means, but there's clearly a component of like people who have been like separated from their land of origin, either voluntarily by necessity or by force, that they get to experience like re-experience a connection
Yeah.
to their culture of origin. And I just was thinking that it would be very funny if like in all of that scene, just in the corner, there was just like a Mozart
Mhm.
rocking it for her, just like crushing it on the piano.
I mean, the music was just unbelievable.
Yeah.
I mean, the singing voice of the actor who plays Preacher Boy
It's his
is just
first role.
it's just
It's his
unbelievable.
first acting role.
When he just belts out singing the first time he starts singing in the
Yeah,
movie,
in the car.
it just captures you. He
Yeah.
has such a strong, wonderful voice. It was just I was like, I had goosebumps. I was like, this guy is so good.
Well, Saris, we are 10 minutes into discussing this movie. We haven't even brought up.
Yeah. Let's get to the
Uh,
most important part of the
yes.
movie.
The intro narration tells us that this power that these people have when they make this music so true, so transcendent, is that it also attracts evil.
Yeah.
Who does it attract?
Vampires.
Vampires.
So we see a vampire, we see a guy with an Irish accent show up at a shack and he's like burned and scabbed over. So, I mean, of course, me expecting a vampire movie, I'm already like, okay, this guy's a vampire.
It's like sunset. He's running through the sky. He's sizzling.
Yeah, he's sizzling. And he speaks to the two people who live in the shack and he tells them that, you know, goddamn Indians, you know, have been chasing him down and want to rob him or whatever.
Yeah, he
Of course, this
notices that they have like clan robes and like he doubles down
Yeah,
on
he
the
doubles
racism.
down. So they hide him, and later Native Americans do show up who clearly seem to be vampire hunters, and they're like concerned that the sun is setting. They're like, we got to get this guy while the sun is still out. They're trying to talk to the family, but the family is very hostile to them. So they leave again.
Yeah.
And then this is the moment where,
Specifically Choctaw. I'll just point
yeah,
that out.
I didn't remember, but yeah, sure.
I watched this movie 4 times now.
And so then we turn around and we go look into the house of the family, and this Irish man's eyes are glowing red, and he's ripped out the husband's throat and drank all his blood, and the husband is now also a vampire. So it's kind of vampires in the vein of the way zombie movies do zombies these
Mhm.
days. Like you get bit and you very quickly turn into a vampire. There's no
Yeah.
real ritual required. Like getting bit is just enough, and then like a half hour later you'll rise. And be happy that you're a vampire and be part of the vampire family. So these three show up after this transcendent moment of music. These three show up at the juke joint and where the
They
party's
try to
happening.
get invited in because these vampires need to be invited in, which is a
Yeah,
very important part of them.
yeah. And the resonance here, of course, is like, let me, a white person, into your black only space. Come on, let
I'm
me
not
in.
racist.
Yeah,
We're color. We're all the same. Why can't we for one night all be family?
yeah. Why can't I enjoy your blues music? Why,
Yeah,
why, why is there a single place in this whole universe that's closed off to me? That's not fair
yeah,
because
exactly.
I'm white.
And they are, yeah. And inside the club, we learn that they are having some trouble with money because a lot of the patrons are spending plantation money, which is like basically a currency that is only worth something inside the
It's
plantation.
literal company script. I had
Yeah.
no idea this was still legal in 1931. Yeah, so it's money that can only be exchanged on the plantation store, obviously at inflated prices, and then usually the clincher is to make sure the exchange rate to dollars sucks, so they have to pay at the store.
Yeah.
Um,
And so even though initially they reject these guys,
yeah, these white
one of
people.
the two, yeah, one of the two twins convinces
the white character
Yeah, what's her
or the
name?
mostly white
Yeah, the
character,
mostly what?
the one I don't remember her name. It's like Mary or something?
Yeah, Mary. Yeah,
Mary.
it's Mary. Yeah, he convinces like Mary convinces him
That
to go.
she's gonna
She's gonna go out because she's white passing,
exactly.
and so she can kind of like get more information out of them
Yeah.
because she thinks that they're just white people who may be racist or turbo racist.
Yeah.
Like there's not the option where
Exactly. But, like, if they're, if they're amenable enough and things go well, maybe
and they have coin.
they can spend some real money at the juke joint, and the juke joint can actually become a profitable business
Yeah,
for this one night. And, so she goes out and she speaks with them. They immediately well, almost immediately start acting very suspicious. They do make it clear that they have money, but it's, like, weird old gold.
it looks like it's like Irish gold. You know,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
to me the connection to Ireland was
And, because again, we have to stress, like, the main character has a very, like,
the main
pronounced
vampire.
Irish yeah, the main vampire has, like, a really pronounced Irish accent, and he's also, like, singing Irish songs, right? So he's, like it's clear, right? It's not just a detail, it's important, right?
It's very important to the
The
theme.
to the subtext and
Yeah.
everything that he's Irish. So anyways, but they act weird, right? They're inviting her into, communion and what do they call it?
I think community and love.
Yeah, love and
Community, I
community.
think
Love and
community.
community. And she gets weirded out by that and also by the fact that they're drooling
Yeah.
because they wanna eat her, obviously.
And
And she
then
pulls out a gun, tries to defend herself, but ultimately they get her.
yes.
So she comes back, she walks back into the juke joint, but now she's a vampire, right? So she's fully acting on their
Yeah.
side. And obviously the people inside don't know that. They trust her as an outsider, but I thought it was very telling in this movie that the first person in the juke joint to be converted.
Is the yeah,
Yeah.
it's very obvious. Yeah. So now what follows is basically a series of exchanges where the main characters figure out that these people are vampires
Yeah.
thanks to the practicer of hoodoo.
Yeah.
The one thing that I want to highlight
Yeah.
here, Annie, thank you. Want to highlight here is that the guy who's supposed to be the bodyguard also gets possessed, and they have this entire exchange where they're trying to figure out why this man cannot enter the
Yeah.
juke joint
He
without having to be invited, and he starts kind of pulling out all these talking points about being polite to one another, about just being nice, and it's this very like centrist
yeah.
like these feel like these centrist talking points about can't we just get over
Yeah.
all these problems and just be nice to one another.
It's definitely telling. Like the way he starts arguing makes it, the more he speaks, the more you're like, oh, you're an asshole, you know? And it's interesting, definitely. Like he's like, oh, I'm just trying to be nice. I'm just trying to be polite, and I'm just trying to show them respect. And what are you up all in my business for? Anyways, shut up, you old drunk,
Yeah.
and like stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then, but of course he can't get in because he's a
Yeah.
vampire. And so this turns into a horror movie scenario,
Yeah.
right?
We
There's
get that.
vampires trying to get in, the core cast trying to keep them out, but some of the people have already been bitten on the
Yeah.
inside. They're now slowly turning into vampires.
Yeah. There's one conversation they have with the vampires before. When first there's maybe the second or maybe the first best musical scene, which is the Irish vampire actually sings an Irish ballad.
Yeah.
The Rocky Road to Rob Dublin, which is a ballad that I actually looked up.
Hmm.
And it's a relatively recent song that was written, and it's about a boy leaving his little town and traveling for better fortune, and he just gets treated like shit along the entire way to Dublin and then to Liverpool, and it's very interesting. The only notable thing that I want to add to it is that throughout the entire song, he gets mistreated by fellow Irish people
Yeah.
because he's from some little town and they're Dubliners. Like it keeps like the racism is fractal,
Yeah.
but only when he gets to Liverpool and some British boys start insulting him for being Irish does he lose his shit and
Mhm.
starts beating them. And then they beat him because there's many more. But then some fellow Irishmen who are there too, who are probably not from his town, right? Who like in Ireland would be racist or thing. They join in and beat up the British boys altogether. And that's interesting.
Yeah.
That's an interesting choice.
The
Like
common foe from outside unifies the inside group.
exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Anyway.
I don't think I think it's like the third best musical number in the movie, which is not to say I didn't like it, but I like the other ones more. But yeah, so
And there's a conversation between the vampires before the whole horror movie starts, between the vampires and them, where it kind of seems like these people are being turned into vampires, but are they really not them anymore?
Yeah. Well, and they seem to retain some amount of their personality. They seem desperate to try and convince the people to go out
Yes.
and join them, but they also genuinely seem to be living in this sort of communal hive mind situation where they all have access to everyone's memories and no one is judgmental of anyone else in them.
Yeah.
So they
Racism seems to be
exactly.
erased.
So they really do seem to have some amount of love and community amongst each other, but they're still clearly vampires. They hunger for blood. They cannot cross thresholds. They clearly are suffering when they're not adding to their ranks, right?
Yeah. And Annie specifically brings up that vampires are like trapped souls that are disconnected from like their ancestors, disconnected from other people, and
That's a really important part.
yeah.
Disconnected from the ancestors and can't pass into the afterlife, right? Like
Yeah.
I think that, I mean she says other
Yes.
stuff too, but that's a really important
Yeah.
note about how vampires are treated
Mm.
in this movie.
Yeah. Only as under significant note, after the whole battle, Preacher Boy basically gets cornered by Remek, the main vampire.
Yeah.
Basically, everyone in this movie gets turned into a vampire except for Annie,
Yeah.
because Smoke kills her
Yeah.
on her like
On her
request. On her
request, she
request,
gets bit, and so one of the gangsters, the one who loves Annie, they're together
yeah,
actually.
stakes her
He stakes
before,
stakes her through the heart. Yeah. So before she can
which
turn,
seems to genuinely hurt the other vampires
the
who are,
vampires seem to feel each other's pain.
yeah,
In a
but
way.
also specifically like the Mary seem to genuinely be upset when they stab him, not because she feels the pain, but because like you just killed my friend.
Exactly. Like you killed my friend. She could have been a vampire with us
Yeah,
forever, and now she's not.
yeah.
Yeah. So,
Sammy's
basically,
running away,
everybody gets turned into a vampire. Basically, Sammy, the preacher boy, runs out. He's one of the last people to be alive next to Smoke.
runs out with his
Um,
guitar.
he runs out with his guitar into a body of water, but Remick, the vampire, catches up to him, and in his last moments, Sammy starts saying the Lord's Prayer, and all the vampires start saying it too.
Fantastic moment.
They're not at all affected by it, right?
Yeah.
And Remick actually recounts how these words were brought by the people who stole his father's lands. I mean,
Mhm,
he means like his ancestors' lands, right?
mhm.
But he still finds comfort in them. But that there is no heaven and there is no hell and there is no dominion of man
Yeah,
over beast. That we're all beast, we're all man, we're
yeah,
all earth.
yeah, yeah. And while doing this, he keeps dunking him in the water,
He's
basically
baptized.
baptizing him.
He's baptizing.
He's baptizing him. Like,
But in the midst, with one last desperate struggle, Sammy swings his guitar at Remick's head, and it turns out the disc at the center of Sammy's guitar is silver.
yeah,
And so the silver disc, the rest of the guitar shatters and falls apart, but the silver disc gets embedded in Remick's skull, and he's in immense pain. All the vampires in immense pain. And using this opportunity to act, he takes the splintered rest of his guitar and he stabs Remick through
no,
the heart. Yeah.
no, he doesn't kill Remek.
Oh, no, 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 no. That's not it. Right, right. He moves close to him and you hear a stabbing sound. You think it's him, but it's actually Smoke. Yeah, Smoke's shown up from behind Remick and stabs him through the
Yeah.
heart. And just at this moment, the sun rises. They blasted just long enough, and all the other vampires get burned away. Then the clan shows up because they actually wanted to kill everybody at the juke joint. And we have a kind of Inglorious Bastards-esque scene where Smoke, the gangster, shoots like 30 Ku Klux Klan members
And
before eventually succumbing to injuries himself. And as he succumbs to injuries, we see him joining Annie in the afterlife, along with their baby daughter who died as a baby, actually. So he finally gets reunited with his family, and we see Sammy come back to his family, come back to his dad in the middle of a sermon, and his dad is like, "See, you've been tempted by sin, but now you can reject it. You can reject it. Throw down the guitar. Throw down these ways." And Sammy doesn't. He holds
yeah,
on to the guitar
he runs
and he
away.
drives out of town.
Yeah,
And that's Sinners. And we've already talked too much about it. We got to move on.
we gotta move on. We gotta move on. K-pop Demon Hunters. What's K-pop Demon Hunters?
Okay.
Change completely. Like
Completely
press the brake.
changes. Yeah. We go. I mean, not that K-pop Demon Hunters isn't a good movie, but you're going from like a level of meaning and importance and sincerity and horror to like this other movie's PG-6.
This other movie is PG-6. It's an animated action musical made by Sony Pictures Animation in collaboration with Netflix.
And
For
as typical
reference,
for Sony, the animation's pretty good throughout the
yeah,
whole movie.
as typical for now for
Yeah.
Sony.
Now for Sony.
The Sony animation of Emoji Movie fame,
Yeah.
and also Spider-Verse. Somehow,
Exactly.
both these things are true.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like when DreamWorks make Kung Fu Panda and then the Wild Robot.
Yeah. And so the movie is about Huntrix, a K-pop group with three main singers whose name, unfortunately, I don't remember. But all three of them are also
Rumi is the main one and really the only one that we really need to talk about because
yeah,
like
and they're all demon hunters, right? So they're
yeah.
like K-pop idols by day, demon hunters by night. The way that it works is they're singing through the adoration of the fans and like the positive emotions of the fans, builds up a force field that effectively dimensionally seals Earth off from monsters or from demons specifically,
Mhm.
called the Han Moon. And it's their job as demon hunters basically to maintain the Han Moon, to strengthen it, to keep demons from coming into this world and stealing the souls of mortals and feeding them to Guima, the king of the demons,
Sabra.
who I
Uh,
really loved the voice actor who did Guima.
yeah,
Did a really great job
yeah.
of being like right in your ear, it feels like, you know?
Yeah. It's a very it's a much lighter movie
Yeah.
in many ways. I kind of joked that like because this movie also has a topic of like kind of like demon monsters with a strange relationship with like music. I mean, here it's music wards them off.
Yeah.
It doesn't attract them, but I still like the first time I watched
Yeah.
K-pop Demon Hunters after the first 5 minutes, I thought, is this is this girl Sinners? Sinners is very manly energy. I think that now that you've seen it, you can see what I mean.
No, I disagree,
You
actually.
disagree?
I think Sinners is for everybody, but I do acknowledge
It's
that
for
K-pop is more popular with women statistically speaking.
yeah, but also Sinners is also like there's so much of like the main characters with arcs in Sinners are men, and like a lot of the conflict there is a lot of conflict resolution is full of like male pride. Like there's a lot of like when Smoke points a gun at Sammy because Sammy won't
To
follow
me,
his
that's just
advice.
a sign of how dysfunctional 1931 Mississippi was.
I mean,
Not
yeah,
not necessarily like an endorsement or like
not
necessarily
an endorsement.
something you couldn't enjoy as anyone, you know? So I don't know, but the point is, K-pop Demon Hunters, right? The core conflict of the movie is that the demons trying to innovate their strategy because Huntrix is about to seal the Han Moon forever right at the start of the
Yes,
movie. Like they're on the cusp of winning, so the demons switch up their strategy. They develop a boy band of demons, and they're going to try and like kind of poison the Han Moon, kind of turn Huntrix against each other, and generally like fight back in the sphere of music and
basically
K-pop.
turning the fans to them instead of Huntrix will weaken Hanmoon because what powers the Hanmoon is the dedication and love of the fans.
Yeah,
So
to
that's
specifically
too
Huntrix.
specifically Huntrix.
Yeah.
Yes. Huntrix, the main character Rumi,
Hmm.
is plagued by a secret, which is that she is half demon. Her
Which is
father,
super oddly resonant because it's a tragic hybrid. Like
yeah,
she's a tragic hybrid, which is what all of the racism from Sinners is relevant to that as a topic because the original tragic hybrid in literature is, of course, almost always a half white, half black person living in America, right?
yeah, not a lot of half black, half Asian characters in our literature.
Yeah, or even like in early like half human, half demon. Seems like
Yeah.
might be rare
Yeah. So Rumi has these scars or these patterns.
patterns. Yeah.
Patterns, and they call them patterns, but they are very reminiscent of a certain type. I mean, to me at least, my immediate association with a certain type of other pattern on your arms that people tend to hide and are ashamed
You
of.
think they're like self-harm scars? They look like that to
They
you?
don't. I don't think that they want to be that, but
They
it's
look like
so.
tiger stripes to me. They look
Yeah.
like kind of stylized fantasies tiger stripes that have this purplish, pinkish sort of glowing energy.
They don't look like that, but like it still resonated a lot with me. The idea of someone covering up their arms all the time because they have these patterns on their arms they're trying
Yeah,
to hide.
yeah, yeah.
It was oddly
But so she's half demon, and
she's
so part of the problem that they're having is fighting the demons. She doesn't have the self-confidence to sing necessarily all the time. The more shame she feels about the patterns, the more they grow, and the more they grow, the more they impair her abilities to
yeah,
sing. And so
especially yeah, they've spread to her throat.
and also just generally the demons are great at getting under their skin. The girls have a really hard time singing against them.
The
They
Saja Boys, this new team is like incredibly popular,
yeah,
incredibly
the
attractive.
demon boy band. Yeah, and they're like, they write a specific takedown song and they're like, this doesn't feel good. Like we want to fight them, we want to hate them, but at the same time that feels not right to us.
Very importantly, Rumi is building the secret rapport with Gino, and she learns. He discovers first that the trigger for this rapport is that he discovers accidentally that she is half demon because she exposes her arms, she exposes her patterns
Yeah.
during the fight,
Yeah.
where she's fully bent on killing him.
Yeah.
And then he opens up about how he used to be a person, and he basically, okay, I'm just gonna cut it short here. He made a deal with Giwa that basically he had to sacrifice his family, leave them out, and instead he would basically like have a comfortable life at the palace as a bard of
Yeah.
some
He would get a
kind.
beautiful singing
Yeah,
voice that
yeah,
would allow him, but only him,
yeah,
into the palace.
exactly. And but he doesn't tell this to Room immediately. Instead, he spins a version of the story where he secured a good life for him and his family, and only when the pattern had completely consumed him and he had turned into a demon
Yeah.
and he was kind of swallowed to the demon dimension, then his mother and sister, they explicitly make it clear that's not his family guy. This guy does not have another family, doesn't have a daughter somewhere. He is single and ready to mingle, ladies.
Yeah, so this gives a lot of characterization to the demons. And the movie has done a lot of framing to show us that the demons actually can like have feelings. Like they seem to genuinely be able to feel fear in the presence of Huntrix. They seem to and Giwa. They seem to genuinely feel like pride or excitement about the Saja boys, their demon band. They seem to be genuine fans. And so Jinu's story helps cement for us the idea that like demons are demons, but once they were people.
Yeah. And it's not just shown, it's not only implied and shown non-verbally. Gino literally says, not feeling? No. Us demons feel all the time. That's
Yeah.
what we do.
He says, "Oh, that's all we do.
That's
All
all
we
we
do
do.
is feel,"
All
right?
we do
So it's
is,
like not at all the idea that we're mindless killing machines. We're actually deeply, personally, emotionally involved in everything that we do because we're constantly feeling all of this
yeah,
emotion.
exactly.
Um, and so the movie basically progresses through this conflict and
Yeah.
ultimately resolves it at the end with the Hanmoon. The Hanmoon is nearly destroyed. The girls are split up. You know, Rumi has revealed her patterns have been revealed to the world against her consent,
Yeah.
against her wishes.
Gino gives up on the idea that he can be redeemed and he kind of like leans fully back into the demon and betrays Rumi.
Yeah, Rumi's I guess, adoptive mother talks to her. They have a whole like relationship breakdown where the mother's like, "No, no, we can still fix this. We'll say it was a lie. We'll say it was illusion. We'll cover up the patterns." And Rui's like, "No, I'm not hiding anymore. You know, if this is the Hanmoon I'm supposed to defend, I would rather tear it down."
Yeah.
And so she shows up at the last number that the Saja boys do, which is kind of I think was originally intended as commentary for like
It is.
fan
It's a very
fanaticism and like driving the extreme idolization of like specific K-pop groups and making the K-pop group the only emotional safe haven for the fan, like trying to communicate to the fan, I'm the only one who can understand you. And yes, I
give
personally, the
me your love. Yeah.
K-pop singer, have a
Care about you.
personal, non-parasocial, direct relationship with you, and I'm the only one who gets you. And that's why you need to buy my music, right?
Yeah, I mean, the song is still this, but it's like it's a milder version of what it could have been. I think that it's roughly as harsh as a movie like this could pull off, on Netflix, like a movie sponsored by the K-pop industry.
It really there's a video that Proteus showed me, called, like, Devil or something like that. I can't remember exactly the name of the song and the name of the group, but it was, like, to me, literally that song, but
Mhm.
for the version that you could do for this movie. Like, that original music video, it leans much more into, like, the sexual romantic stuff, like, "Oh, I'm the devil, I'm gonna draw you in, right? Draw you into my fantasy," and, like, you're the only one for me. We're together in this fantasy one-on-one. Me, this
Superstar.
celebrity, and you, this anonymous individual on blind watching this YouTube video, right? And I was like showing like how they use this emotional marketing to really like draw you in.
Yeah, thank God this emotional niche will soon be fulfilled by our AI overlords. So the K-pop, the K-pop. I was literally
Thank God we'll
listening
all
to
have
that.
AI psychosis,
Yeah,
so K-pop won't get us anymore.
I was literally listening to that song, and I was kind of like, this kind of sounds like what the AI was telling that boy who, yeah, that one, the
Yeah,
bad news, the bad news.
yeah.
It's
So,
literally
anyways,
very similar.
Rumi comes out and starts singing her truth, right? Despite the fact that she's completely covered in patterns, her voice seems to be strong because she's singing a different song than last time, a song about showing your fears, showing your insecurities, showing the parts of the rough edges of you, the parts society maybe doesn't want to see. And her song is so inspiring that
Her fans get
no, not
reawoken
just
by
that,
the
her
trance.
friends,
Yeah,
get reawoken from their trance out of the crowd and join her in singing Huntrix Reforms. And they do this beautiful song and create a new Hanmoon. that
Yeah.
just locks out all the demons.
Yeah. There is three before we go into that, there is kind of three songs in this movie that all compete to be their final song
Yeah,
because
300 songs.
they need to basically like seal the honeymoon with like a final song. The one that they're originally going for is Golden, which is this song which is kind of like very much presenting them as they should be as like the K-pop industry would want them to be perceived, as their master would want them to be perceived, as kind of like these immaculate goddesses who blossom out of their cocoons into superstars.
Who had their beautiful, personal, poignant story, but
Yeah,
none of it was really all too rough edge to begin
exactly.
with. You know,
Yeah. Then
this
there's
is them, a golden, flawless
yeah.
picture.
Then there's Takedown, is a song that they keep trying to write, but they keep struggling with, especially Rumi,
Yeah,
which is basically a diss. They describe it as a diss track against the Saja
yeah,
boys.
it's like "Fuck Demons" the
Yeah,
song.
fuck demon, they need to die.
Yeah. There's literally a line, like, in the chorus, no less, that's like, "A demon that can't feel doesn't deserve to live, isn't it obvious?"
Yeah.
Right? And it's like, very extremely
Very,
genocidally
very,
anti-demon.
very in your face about it.
Yeah. And then the third song, this is the third one that they actually sing at the
Yeah,
end,
yeah. This kind of like
which is like,
this is what it sounds like, and it's about how their imperfections and
yeah, and it's like,
accepting.
"Show me what's beneath, I'll find the harmony to, like, to match that," or whatever, and, like, "Why did we hide the colors hidden inside our head?" Which I was like,
Yeah,
"Queer
should
allegory?
yeah
Queer allegory?"
should have let the jagged edges see the light instead. So it's about like
Yeah.
showing your imperfections, showing all of you.
But still being compatible with others, right? Like
Yeah.
yeah. And so they sing that song and they create a new Hanmoon that isn't golden, but is instead kind of opalescent colored. And Rumi's scars,
Functionally,
but is functionally identical. The demon group is destroyed. Like literally all of
they
them are murdered except for Jinu, who gives up, but he still dies. He still gives up his soul to protect Rumi
yeah he dies in self-sacrifice, but he still dies. And then the remaining group of Saja boys, all demons get like slaughtered
by Huntrix, no less.
by
Like
Huntrix.
a lot of the time when Huntrix is fighting demons, they're like faceless or like really like kind of goofy in a way, like in a fun way, like those old representations of demons with like the big tusks and the unibrow and like the wrinkled red skin and the big noses, right?
Yeah.
Like they're those kinds of demons. So we don't really feel that bad for them because they just, I don't know, they look a little
Yeah.
goofy. And then the other times they're just faceless demons that like,
Well, like we've definitely seen that these goofy demons still feel emotions, right?
yeah, absolutely. Which
And
is why they get replaced by faceless demons, I think, as the movie goes on, because you start to feel worse and worse for them.
yeah, but explicitly, some of them are still in there in the big final thing. Some of those people that are cutting down are not faceless like golems.
Yeah, I
They
mean,
are
it's the boy band. The boy band
not
who
just them, not just them. I mean, in the big mass,
I'm
but
just
also
saying,
the
like,
boy
the
band.
boy band is, like, gotten the most characterization of anybody,
Yeah,
right? So, yeah, all the demons get murdered at the end of the movie.
Giwa gets sliced in half and banished back to hell.
Yeah, and, the Hanmoon is restored, but this Hanmoon isn't golden, it's opalescent in color, and the scars on Rumi don't disappear the way they would have with the
Yeah,
golden Hanmoon. Instead, they turn opalescent in
yeah.
color with
Also,
the
they get a
swirling.
magical anime girl transformation during the song where like all their clothes have like opalescent shimmer afterwards.
Mm,
Like her scars are the most notable, but I
yeah.
noticed that the rest of their clothing is also opalescent.
So I want to briefly mention, right? Like, I think some people's perspective might falsely be like, oh, Sinners is a mature movie. It's talking about racism. It's talking about
Cultural appropriation.
cultural appropriation. It's talking about all sorts of like important topics of like life, death, spirituality, and the ancestors, right? Um, and so this movie is obviously super meaningful, right? It's made by Ryan Coogler, so it's got to be good. And like and then K-pop Demon Hunters is like the silly, stupid one on the side. And I want to,
Shout out to someone special in your life.
well, I just want to point out, like, I think the music in K-pop Demon Hunters is incredibly good, like, is incredibly well done. It's like some of the best movie music I've ever heard. You have to imagine these are people who are primarily actors, right? Who are like primarily animators, primarily writers, right? Putting together 3 songs that I think are like
I mean,
good
I
enough.
assume that like specifically for writing the songs, they got some music.
I'm just saying
Would
it's good.
yeah,
It's I'm saying it's good. I would listen to it in my free time.
I do.
And some of the vocals are just like so poignant, and like there are definitely moments in the movie that gave me goosebumps that I was not at all expecting because I'm not at all the target audience. Like I don't like K-pop. I normally don't listen to it. I don't like the fact that I can't understand the lyrics. Well, man, the lyrics were out of this world good
Do you have
for
any
this
shout outs?
in this movie, or what do you mean?
Yeah, any shout out to a lyric that gave you goosebumps?
Oh, I mean, actually, the "A demon that can't feel doesn't deserve to live, isn't it obvious?" The way it came together, like, the flow of how that line was delivered was so good, but also just, like, the chorus of the first song, like, "Huntrix shows you how it's done,
Yeah,
done,
done,
done."
done. Yeah,
It was just like, "This is so good." Like, this
yeah,
hits so well.
yeah. My top songs
Mhm,
for this is like done, like how it's done.
mhm,
It's like my favorite one,
yeah,
and then it's probably like the this is what it sounds like, the final one, and
mm,
then Takedown.
yeah,
Yeah. I mean, I don't like Golden that much, but, like, I don't like it for the reason that, like, we are not supposed to like it in the movie,
yeah,
but, like, it's catchy, but I can't listen to it without, like,
yeah,
getting it, and
yeah,
then I, like,
yeah,
I get a little bit of a, while Takedown is, like, mean-spirited on purpose,
yeah,
and I can just kind of, like, go with the flow.
yeah, you can be like, "Yeah, yeah,
Like,
for
it's hateful on
demons."
purpose, while Golden is supposed to not be, like,
Yeah.
eerie, but it is eerie.
Yeah. I don't know, I just overall, like, the lyrics were great, they gave me a great vibe for what the song was supposed to be about, so I really so, like, I had to say, as someone who absolutely normally does not listen to K-pop and doesn't really enjoy listening to it just because I find it disorienting, right? I can't understand what the people are saying often, the it was so good in this movie, and the music was, like, genuinely good, like, the music was not just the lyrics and the singing, but also, like, the music itself was well done.
Mhm.
So I just want to emphasize that, right? I mean, this is obviously a PG-6 movie. It's much more about having a fun time, but I still felt that
Yeah.
parts of it had a poignant message, a very relatable character conflict, of this tragic hybrid done in an updated way, and like songs that were really, really good.
Yeah. Um,
Also went out of its way to make sure to not like glorify things that are known to be negative parts about the K-pop like idol lifestyle, like not eating. In this movie, the main characters in Huntrix
Stuff themselves
are eating
explicitly.
all the time, right? And they're enjoying it. They're enjoying food for their own sake, for themselves, right? So I thought that was cool, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's
And that
definitely
they criticize, like, I respect the fact that at the end they criticize this kind of emotionally
parasocial.
manipulative, parasocial method of marketing, right? It's
Mhm.
like, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, this movie, when I finished this movie for the first time, I was left a little bit, like, disappointed and even a little bit eked out by, like, how little this movie, like, pointed out, like, criticized the K-pop industry
Mhm,
because it's a movie all about accepting yourself,
mhm.
and it's like, but you're making a movie about accepting yourself in the medium of, like, K-pop, and you're not gonna bring that up?
Yeah.
And like it really, in that sense, like we get a little bit from the adoptive mother slash trainer of the three, who's like, you must never show any flaws. It's that,
Never show your flaws or fears.
but it happens like twice in the movie. It's really not like
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, right, like, K-pop can be, when done poorly, one of the mediums most where it's like everybody needs to be perfect all the time, right? Perfectly matching the beauty standards of the country, like, perfectly, you know
training yourself into choreography and dancing to death,
yeah, yeah.
and maintaining a perfect appearance, maintaining a perfect online persona.
That makes you as alluring as possible to fans, yeah, and that kind of thing. And so, I mean, the movie doesn't it does a little bit to criticize it and does as much to not support it while it can still be a movie about enjoying K-pop. And I think it's treading a line. I think overall it does it well. But I see what you're talking about. To me, what fell flat was, of course, the ending with the
Yeah, yeah,
demons
that's the
because it
other one.
kind of destroys the metaphor. So
Yeah.
since we're approximately at
Speaking of
minute
meta, you
20,
said the M word.
yeah, I said the M word. We're at minute 20. We've talked about 20 minutes about each movie, giving you guys the broad strokes. Let's talk about how monsters are used as a metaphor
Yes.
in both of these movies.
Yeah. So I think that a crucial decision that a lot of movies like this need to make
Hmm.
is are the monsters people, or are the monsters a feeling, a force? Usually, because it's a monstrous one, a negative one, but doesn't have to be. But either way, are these supposed to be people or not? Sinners is very explicit about it. Yes, these are people.
Mm,
These, like, vampirism itself is not is like a metaphor, and people who get vampirism are people transformed by it,
yeah,
but they retain their emotion, especially the two brothers fight in the end.
yeah.
It's a fight between twins. One is a vampire, other one is not. They clearly both care about each other. One
Like
is trying to free one from this curse, the other one is trying to, like, get him in on the
bring
vampirism
him into
train,
the curse. Yeah.
but both care about one another. And there is an
So
after.
much so that the before credits, but feels like after credits scene of the movie shows that even like in 1992. So what, 61 years later,
Yeah.
the brother that got turned into a vampire is still alive and still out there and still respecting the last wishes of his brother,
Which is not to kill Sam.
which is don't kill Sammy, don't kill Preacher Boy. And so he comes and he visits Preacher Boy and he respectfully offers him to become a vampire because
Mhm.
Preacher Boy's going to die soon of old age,
Yeah.
right? And he's like, respectfully offering him to be a vampire. You could be a vampire forever, you know?
Yeah.
You could keep living forever. You could keep doing the real deal, the real music, the real blues music you could keep doing forever. And he says to him, which is just such a great response, I think, in a way. He says,
I've
I,
seen enough of this place.
I think I've seen about enough of this place. He's like, he's ready to move on. He doesn't need to be trapped on Earth forever, you know?
Yes.
He's happy to have his soul pass on.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
so, like, all I'm trying to say is with that is, like, you can see that Stack respects his brother's wishes 61 years after the death of his brother. Like, he's still loyal to his brother, right? So clearly you do retain your personality to some extent.
Yes. You do. And what does K-pop Demon Hunters think demons are?
So I think in K-pop Demon Hunters, it's weird, right?
Yeah.
So Gima, the king of the demons, he's easy. I got him.
Yeah. He's Sauron.
Gima is insecurity, right? He's kind of a Sauron-esque figure who induces insecurity in others and feeds off of it because through people's insecurity, he lures them into deals,
Yeah.
right?
The
And so
movie.
by luring them into deals, he then gets their soul and he gets to eat their soul and they become his demons. And even as demons, he continues to torment them by being that negative voice in the back of their
Yeah.
head, reminding them of their failures, right? Even if he was the one who induced the failures, you know?
Yeah, he is explicitly characterized as the voice in your head, always whispering. And also, the movie cannot stop using the word shame, for
Mm,
which I want to say more than insecure. I mean, he's explicitly characterized as shame because the characters cannot stop using the word shame
yeah,
when referring to demon kind and being a demon
yeah.
and all things demon.
As far as the other demons, it's more difficult to say. Genu is a person. He used to be a person. He looks like a person. He made a deal that turned him into a demon, but he retains the tormented psychology of a person, the tormented psychology a person would have if their family was, kicked out and lived in poverty and only he was the one to make it out. He made it out. Not necessarily at the expense of the rest of his family, but in a way, yes, because then he's not there anymore to help them through
Yeah.
poverty, to help protect them, because he's living
Yeah,
his
I must
perfect
say
life in the
here,
palace.
here's another thing that is not really made clear.
Hmm.
It sounds like Gima kind of like gave him like make him make a deal where like he had to leave his family behind or something like that.
Mm.
But that is not made clear enough. And to me, I don't know. With the first time that I watched it, and I was paying attention,
Hmm.
um, I just thought, well, why didn't he not just take his family with him?
Yeah,
This time I watched it, I think that Gima
I
is
think
kind of implying that like it was part of the deal with Gima that he would have had to sacrifice his family
that's
as the
interesting.
price.
My impression was that the palace is like, we'll let you sing here, but we're not letting anybody else sing.
Yeah,
My impression was it was on the palace, so to speak.
I mean that could be, but it's still like I think that like the escalation from I let my family down to I purposefully fucked over my family to give myself up
Yeah, I mean, like
is it
you
doesn't
could
strike as much.
you could live a perfect life in the palace and take some of the money you're earning.
Yeah, pushing it out. I was
Like,
yeah,
even if they can't live with you, you could just like leave the palace surely, like drop a
exactly.
coin bag over the walls for
Exactly.
them or something.
This movie really feels like it has been reworked from a much sharper version of itself to a much more palatable
Yeah.
and like pop culture oriented version of itself
You know,
because of this and other things.
I feel like the movie has been somewhat Cheetoified in the sense that it's been like made more palatable for the masses.
Yeah.
Um, so that's how Genu. So Genu to me is is a human.
Gino is a
He's a
human.
person
Yeah.
essentially.
So
I
we
mean,
have Gino and
if,
Gima, and
yeah,
they are like evil in not evil, shame incarnate, and like explicitly non-human bad thing that
yeah,
like should be vanquished or at least
yeah.
kept out of your head.
And then a person
Gino is a person.
is a person. And all the other demons I find fall somewhere in between. They seem to have moments where they can feel emotions, moments where
Gino states
they,
that they feel emotion, which
yeah,
is the most condemning thing for me. Is that like there's a textual, explicit.
yeah.
It's not like that demon is smiling. That demon has emotion. It's Gino says,
And Genu says that they're all controlled through their guilt, right? All
yeah,
controlled through their shame by Dima, that they all hear this voice in their head continuously berating them, insulting them, seducing them towards acting out of shame, right? To follow his orders. So it seems like the other demons are like Genu, right? In which case it seems like they are just people. Like every demon used to be a person who gave up their soul for something, because they were persuaded by the voice of Gima and ended up doing something bad and then therefore became a demon. However,
That's one version.
if that's true, why are they being murdered all the time by Huntrix, right? Then it starts to feel really bad that
Especially
Huntrix
why
is
at the end of the movie the solution is to just like lock them back in the prison where they belong.
exactly like in
Even the Saja boys get a lot of like fun tidbits of characterization that show that they have personality.
yeah, and then they're just
They even suffer because they go in this contest where they have to eat, like it's basically like hot ones or whatever,
yeah,
where they have to drink
they
spicy.
have to chug hot sauce.
They have to chug hot sauce, and like they're suffering.
Yeah.
They're clearly struggling. There's only one of them that is crushing it. All the other ones are.
Yeah, it's weird because if demons are people, the interactions that the girls have with demons, even at the end of the movie, don't make sense. So there's a few things. First, I could imagine the way they interact with demons at the start of the movie being true because they don't know yet that demons are
Mhm,
people. And then by the end of the movie, they realize, hey, demons are allowed to live actually, and we don't want to be mean to them all the time, so they treat them differently,
mhm.
right? Like they knock them out. I could also imagine this is a second option that you could make a version of this movie where you say, "Hey, demons are a self-selecting audience. Only people who make a contract with Gima end up being demons. Ergo, all demons are bad because Gima only makes contracts with bad people." But then we're given Genu, who's explicitly like a character, kind of trying to highlight that sometimes you make a deal with the devil because your life is terrible and you want something better. And does Genu act honorably? No, but I feel like you can see his motivations, right? Like, would I do what he did? No, obviously not. But you can see that he wasn't motivated by a mustache twirling need for evil, right?
Yeah,
He just wanted to live a good life, right? And be pampered for once. And then there's a third way that you could do the movie. And I think maybe this is part of what they're leaning on, the idea that none of the demons are being killed, right? Every time they're cut, they explode in a puff of energy, so maybe they're just being banished and they don't really feel pain when they're banished. But unfortunately,
there's
that
no
last
evidence to
version,
support that.
well, also that last version, when they all get sealed into hell forever, that's probably still not a fun place. It's made very clear that Gima is a very not nice person to be around, that all the demons are very much afraid of Gima, that they don't like being around Gima, that they don't like interacting with Gima, that they suffer eternally. So them all being sealed away by the Han Moon forever does not feel exactly like doesn't feel
It's not a satisfying
exactly. It's
ending
not a
either.
nice way for the Huntrix to treat people. Like if they're people, that's not a nice way for Huntrix to treat them.
Yeah, it's kind of bizarre. This movie probably doesn't want you to think about it too much, but they point at this too much to just be ignored.
Absolutely. Like the third act, the first act and the second act serve to set up and deepen a conflict, and the third act does nothing to resolve it. In a very genuine way, I cannot overstress that the first solution the movie first gives to the demon problem is to create a golden Han moon, and that the final solution of the movie is to create an opalescent Han moon, and that besides the color and the presence of Rumi's scars, there is no difference between those solutions, right? She goes from saying, if this is the Han Moon I'm supposed to defend, I'm happy to tear it down brick by brick, to next scene just singing out her emotions and creating a new Han Moon that is ostensibly different and better, but still mechanically serves the exact same function. So
Yeah,
nothing is really resolved.
there's
She
almost a joke about like corporate like sanitation.
Yeah, like, has she really embraced her demon side? Has she embraced her demon powers? Has she is just showing off her scars and singing about acceptance the
She's
same as truly accepting that side of herself, of accepting that she's half demon? She never learns where her demon ancestry comes from.
Yeah, that's
And
the other thing that is missing is like it's a huge part of the movie is the fact that her mother apparently loved a demon and conceived a half demon child. And like I assume probably that's probably how she got killed because it's very clear that her mother died young. She
yeah.
didn't know her mother, but we don't get any deepening of this aspect of the
Oh,
movie.
I have a suspicion.
Gino is the father?
No, hey, here's my suspicion.
They never kiss.
The movie was originally written to follow its natural plot line, that we both think is its natural
Mhm.
plot line, which is obviously Gima is bad and demons are good. And at the end of the
Yeah.
movie,
Or demons are people.
we resolve the conflict by banishing Gima behind the Han Moon, but having the demons all be part of society. And so, like the floating or like the mystical cat demon, right,
Mhm.
and the crow demon, right, we can have all these demons be like living
Pets.
in the
Yeah.
material world,
Mm.
doing their own interesting things, right, or sending off into heaven or something like that, right? But like freeing them from their endangerment so they no longer endanger people on the
Yeah.
orders of
Their
Gima
souls
anymore
can be freed
because
and,
Gima
and
is.
go fly into the sky
And
and
then
turn into
somebody
stars.
said, "Wait, but if we do that, then we can't hunt demons anymore." And the other writer said, "Sure, yeah. What's the problem with that? We resolved the conflict of K-pop demon hunters." And the other person said, "But sequels. I need to make sequels. I need 17 sequels." So, do you think my suspicion is, I wonder if you think this is plausible, that the third act resolution of the plot of the conflict, which seems so clear to us, right, as viewers, was the resolution was scrapped and saved because we now know that it's going to have sequels because it was so popular, right? Then in the sequel, Gima can break through the Han Moon again, we can fight the demons, and the resolution of the second movie that takes us further than movie one is that we realize demons are actually good people though, right? And we somehow save them from Gima, right? And so movie two is assault on Gima, right? And so but we can still call it Demon Hunter because we're hunting Gima, I guess, or because we can still hunt demons because they're kind of evil. I don't know.
Yeah.
What do you think of that?
I mean, it sounds plausible.
Hmm.
Of course, it's a bad plan
Yeah.
because we already milked this premise.
Yeah.
Where do you go from now?
Yeah.
Like, what's movie two?
Super demons.
No, they can't do super demons. I mean, you can do that, but it's gonna be bad.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it
It's
it
never
it it,
stopped
it
movie
could be.
makers making sequels before.
You are so right. But yeah, I mean, irregardless of like the specific reason why,
Yeah.
yours sounds good.
Yeah.
I also think that like a too complicated plot maybe might have been the
The
problem
thing is for
because
me
like
that's crazy is it's like an hour and a half only
yeah,
long. Like
the target.
realistically, for modern day movies, you could easily have tacked another 15 to 20 minutes of development on there if you needed to.
This is a second screen experience movie for teenagers, TikTok brain teenagers who are always scrolling and have to put, hey,
Give them more credit.
no, it's Netflix. If this was Sony Animation Pictures, I would give them more credit, but this is a Netflix joint. I think that like specifically the Netflix people
Hmm.
probably came in and are like, this is too complicated. We need to sell this like 12-year-old girls. This is too.
But there's so many adults are also fans of K-pop. I mean,
But the man, I mean, the highly suggestible. I don't know.
no, I feel like you're being a little like I feel like stereotypes have gotten to you. Like I feel like you have
No,
in
no,
your
no.
mind a little bit of set conception of what a K-pop enjoyer for this movie looks
I
like.
think that the Netflix executives has a certain idea of what the
Yeah,
target audience looks like. That's
I
what I think happened.
yeah, I can buy that more. Okay, but we haven't talked much about the monsters and sinners.
We haven't talked much about the
So
monsters.
let's look at we've discussed, I think, in pretty clear detail what our disappointments or confusions are
Yeah.
with K-pop Demon Hunters, how we wish it had ended instead.
Yeah. Still fun movie.
Yeah.
Still like great animation, great music.
The music is the main draw. Like it's actually the music is really genuinely good. And it's a fun time, right? It's a
Yeah.
fun movie, even if it's not necessarily the deepest movie. So let's go to a movie that I would
I enjoyed it a lot
not
more.
describe at all as fun, but as very deep and profound.
Someone said, was that a comedy?
Wait, what? I'm so confused.
Copernicus. Of
Really?
course, I was Copernicus.
Copernicus was like, is Sinners a comedy?
Yeah, after watching it, I was like,
No!
well, that's supposed to be a comedy.
Okay, this is like a Gollum, a stylish comment. Or fashionable, not even stylish, fashionable, which is even worse, I think. Okay, so let's talk about Sinners. Let's talk about the example where I think the monsters are used really well as a metaphor.
So me and Sarah slightly disagree about the specifics of what the monster is, but the vampires in Sinners,
Like what exactly what they represent.
exactly. But like Sinners, vampires are this community that kind of attracts and feeds off marginalized groups in the United States
Yeah.
who have
Like the Irish,
like the Irish, like black people,
like the people who pass as white but are still black
exactly.
somehow by some people's definitions,
Exactly, and they are kind of trying to create their own community, a colorblind community based on love and community and love. They describe it.
Yeah, making music and living forever.
Yeah,
Oh, no, nobody can oppress you, nobody can kill you, nobody can, you just move around doing your own
yeah,
vampire thing forever.
yeah. But what you have to kind of renounce by being a vampire is the connection to your ancestors, the connection to the ability to pass into the afterlife.
Yeah. And so for me, they resonate obviously like as cultural appropriation or like loss of cultural roots.
We already talked about like the whole thing of like vampires needing to be invited in
Yeah.
is being used
Yeah,
to
because it's like, it's like one of those things where it's like straight people showing up at a queer bar, right? In this case, white people showing up at a black, nightclub. It's like, oh, the minorities create protected spaces for themselves.
where
This
they can
movie
feel safe.
excellently illustrates why they need a protective space, right? Like one of the gangster brothers, I think Smoke says, yeah, if they come in here, right, and one person bumps into them wrong or makes the wrong comment or somebody looks at the woman too long, right? We're gonna have a mob in here trying
Mhm.
to kill everybody, right?
Yeah,
So I was like, there's very good reasons we need a protected black only space where we can be ourselves because we can't be ourselves around white people. We have to watch what we say and what we do, else the Klan will come down here, or other white racists will come down here,
yeah.
right? And so white people encounter this protected sphere, this space that's just not about you,
Mhm.
right? Like you can also see this like more broadly, not even just as a physical space, like a club, but like just generally as culture, right? Like black music, black fashion, black hair fashion, right? That kind of thing, right? And white people be like, "What? Any space on earth is not made for me? No, come on, let me in, guys. For the next 4 hours, I'll be colorblind and I'll be a part of your thing because you and me were just the same, right?" And of
Yeah,
course, it's not the same.
yeah.
And especially in 1931 Mississippi, no matter how open-minded you are as a white person, you will have extreme privilege and there will be issues, right? Like if something bad happens, even if you don't do something, what if
Someone
somebody
else
else
might.
who's white sees it, right?
Yeah,
Or makes up a story. Like they
be
explicitly talk
explicit.
about
Like
a
yeah,
story in during Sinners about, two black musicians who are treated horribly by the police but end up getting paid fairly well for it. And then racists find out that they got paid well for it, make up a story that they stole the money and
and
have them killed.
yeah, killed a man, raped his wife, and then
Yeah.
they lynch one of them.
And it's just like, like you don't even have to, that's the issue,
That's a
right? Like the
scary
white
thing. Yeah,
person doesn't even have to be a racist, although many of them are. Like many of the people who, many of the people, oh, we're all equal. Come on, let me in, right? But I still feel like I got the vibe definitely from the vampires. Like if you had let them in, the subtext is, they don't really believe in equality, right? And that there could have been issues, right? But even if like the white person is like as open-minded as ever, right? And they're like the best anti-racist ally ever, that still doesn't prevent racialized violence coming from this interaction based on what other racists see or perceive about the situation.
yeah. It's very important. It's very notable that the first not racist, the first vampire is Remek, who is an Irishman,
Yeah,
which is a group of people who were also discriminated against, but were white passing enough that they didn't get as bad as a treatment as
exactly.
other groups. Um, and he is the advocate for this kind of like colorblind group,
Yeah,
because he understands to a certain degree, right? He tells them they're never going to let you can't imagine that you can really be free here. This place that you bought, going to be a slaughterhouse. Tomorrow the Klan is gonna come up here
yeah.
after your big evening and shoot you all up.
And he's not even speaking metaphorically.
Yeah,
He's like, literally, I know the plans of the clan.
because I vampired two people who are the nephew and niece of the Grand Dragon of the Ku Klux Klan.
Yeah, Grand Wizard, right?
I think they call him Grand Dragon, which is also a
It's
title.
also a title, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he's like, because whenever a vampire becomes a vampire, they become part of the hive mind. So they have everybody's memories,
Yeah,
right?
they retain individuality, but they share memories.
Yeah,
So they can look into each other's things,
yeah.
share knowledge,
So he's like, I know. This isn't a hypothetical
yeah.
I'm trying to sell
And
you
the
on.
other two are there,
Yeah,
being very kind to them, even though they're clan member. But they're like, yeah, he's right. That's what we would have done. But now we've been rectified.
yeah.
Now we see the light.
Yeah. And so for
And
me,
honestly,
being a
I like to.
vampire is, I mean, obviously being a vampire is also just being a vampire. It's a horror movie about vampires.
Yeah.
But the second line of interpretation is, vampires are clearly a metaphor for like loss of cultural identity, right? Losing the connection to the ancestors, I think, is a really big quote there, right? And the idea that like you can be like this kind of forever, but you're like a vampire, right? Like you have to live with all the shitty parts of being a vampire, being hungry all the time,
Mhm.
spreading it to everybody, stuff like that. And the third thing is, although and also like Remick plays a good game of like understanding, but does he really understand, And they're all kind of, there's this loss of individuality that you talked about. To
I,
me,
I
they also
think I
have
think it's
this.
more I think it's more interesting if we take them at face value when they say that they're not racist.
Mhm.
Like the problem with these guys is not that they're going to discriminate you. That's not the problem with the
Yeah, I mean, they
vampires.
wanna murder you though, right?
Yeah,
And so,
exactly.
like,
Like
there
they're
there
not.
is definitely this feeling that is aroused in me when someone's like, "Oh, no, no, I'm not a bigot. Let me into your safe space." But the second you let them in, they start ripping people's throats out. Like, yeah, maybe the vampires in this specific movie aren't racist, but they remind me of bigoted people who virtue signal as being not bigoted people in order to get priority access to vulnerable spaces to treat people poorly. It's like a common stereotype of this that exists online is like the man who paints his nails, but is actually still a misogynist and still like queer phobic, right? And so like
Representation.
and so like shows up, right? And is like, "Oh, I'm so liberal, I'm so open-minded," as a way to get access to women, right? Like this idea. I've also heard of real life examples of this, right? Where people have like friends who are like, "Oh yeah, I'm, I don't believe women should, we need any more feminism than we have today, but I say that I do because otherwise I don't get dates." Right? And it's like, yikes, right? And that's to me, that's how the vampires read, right? They're like, "Oh, come on, let me in. We're all friends here." And then the second you let them in, they're tearing people's throats out, right? But there's also this line of what I feel the vampires are is I feel they also remind me of Christians. So this movie very much talks about how like forcibly shoving people into this very traditional Christian mode of life erases them from the spiritual teachings and knowledge of their ancestors and their culture, while at the same time fitting them this very restrictive, tight, white approved mold of like, you don't go to. I mean, when I heard Sammy's dad, the actual preacher man, talking about like, "Oh, these philanderers and like evil people," and then it's like, these people are dancing in a nightclub, listening to blues music, drinking a little bit of alcohol, and they're tempted by sin. I'm like, it's really the straitjacket. I
Mhm.
felt like that scene showed how it's such a straitjacket that's being forced onto people to some degree, right? To fit into this proper, respectable, white approved, prim sort of version of yourself. And to some degree, the vampires actually reminded me of that. The fact that the vampires all say the Lord's Prayer, that Remick says that those words give him comfort too, even though they're kind of a lie. The fact that vampires inherently are so religiously connotated, just like the trope of vampires, generally speaking,
Mhm.
and the fact that the wise person in the situation who's there to protect us from the vampires is not a preacher man, but instead a woman who knows like ancient Yoruba and like hoodoo practices to keep them safe, right? And I think it's really poignant, even how in the movie she talks about other types of undead that I can't remember the name of, and I've never heard of, and probably you as an audience have never heard of, because this is West African lore that we don't hear about because we hear about the European lore instead.
Yeah.
And what's the European lore? It's vampires, baby. So I felt like they had like this Christian overtone, especially like the love and community. Join us, become part of the homogenous, uniform way of being, and you can live forever in a community of love and community. That all to me, like, rang
Also, the
also.
baptism I feel like feeds into
You're
interpretation.
right, yeah.
Sammy gets basically baptized
By Remick,
by
yeah.
Ramek in a river, in the Mississippi River, maybe even.
Yeah, Remick is, by the way, the lead vampire. I'm not sure if
Yeah,
we
yeah.
said that yet,
I
but
I, I named him a couple of times and always clarified, but
yeah,
yes,
he's the
Ramek.
he's the lead Irish vampire,
Mhm.
yeah. So, like, um, it was telling to me that despite the fact that there were, let's say, 100 black vampires outside with Remick, they were singing Irish songs.
Mhm.
Um, and so I don't know. I just felt like um, eh, there was just a whole part of it that made me feel like I think the vampires are kind of Christians as well. I think this is why the movie is called Sinners,
Mhm.
right? It's about the people who are the sinners, i.e., Sammy, Smoke, Stack,
Yeah.
Annie, Mary, right? These are the sinners,
Mhm.
the people we literally see commit biblical sins throughout the course of the movie, except for Sammy, maybe. But like those people are the sinners, and the vampires are like quote unquote the saints in a way.
Mhm.
Um, but I also totally agree with your interpretation
Well,
that
I
the
haven't
culture
said my I
that
haven't.
the cultural part, like that is mainly cultural appropriation.
Yeah, yeah.
Like
For me,
losing your identity by becoming Christian is a form of cultural appropriation. So when you say, I think the vampires are more cultural appropriation, I'm kind of like, yeah, it's both, Like
yeah.
I see your point as well.
Yeah, the religiosity is a big part of this movie. For me, it's more of kind of like a three-way interplay between like the black community,
Hmm.
the vampires, and I would kind of clump together the preacher boy's father, the church, and the clan,
Hmm.
as in this kind of like like explicitly like uh, American white imperialist capitalist Christian structure of power that that has put the black community in the situation that they're right now.
Yeah.
And the vampires are offering them like an alternative, which to me also a little bit. Here's another thing that I thought. To me, I also read it in a way that to me feels more prescient
Hmm.
to contemporary struggles
Hmm.
of black people,
Yeah.
because right now black people aren't being offered redemption through Christianization the way that they might have been 150 years ago. They're being offered a corporate colorblind, can we just all get along approach, which is very secular. It's very much like you know that kind of like corporate mentality.
Hmm.
That has nothing to do with spirituality. If anything, it's explicitly anti-spiritual. It wants to focus, like build kind of like this corporate family. Your
I mean,
workplace is the family.
I think it's influenced by Christian ideals from their perspective that equality comes from the fact that all souls are
Sure.
equal. But I'm willing to see that it's a mostly secular concept at this
Yeah,
point.
I mean, almost, if not everything, in that is Western society that we didn't take from somebody else is Christian.
Influenced by
In fact,
Christian
because like
tradition.
enlightenment, like the values of the enlightenment thinkers were still influenced by the Christian idea that we are all equal.
Yeah.
So to that degree, yeah, you can't escape Christianity. You're right, but I think
And
that
neither can the people in this movie because these vampires are strong, man.
yeah,
No.
yeah. So to me, I'm much like I am leaning into the idea that yes, this community of vampires
Yeah.
is a place to find an alternative spiritual fulfillment, but it's not the Christian type. Even though, yes, the symbolism of the baptism is there, but also the symbolism of baptism is big enough that it can
Yeah, you could see it in like sort of a new age spirituality
exactly.
kind of way.
Yeah, I'm thinking about that.
What I think is beautiful at the end is that Sammy, visits his father in the middle of a sermon, and the father goes, my son has been tempted by sin, but now reject sin. Drop the guitar, son. Drop it.
Yeah,
And he doesn't.
yeah,
We see he holds fast to the guitar. He drives out of town. We see him 61 years later playing the same songs, thinking about the same love that night, that one beautiful moment that he
yeah.
had. And man, it's just like so emotionally affecting. I feel like just the beauty for a few hours that as you were saying, attacked from all sides,
We were free
black community in Mississippi got to be free for just a few hours, and those memories they carry with them, right? And then it all gets torn to shreds, right? Because it must,
because
because
it must.
that's the systems of the time. I mean, honestly, like, okay, America today is not
Great.
nearly as racist as back
Hmm.
then, but it's also far from being an anti-racist haven of security for black people,
Yeah.
right? So like even like it still resonates so much today this idea and for me also, right? From like bringing in a little bit of a different marginalized community
Hmm.
perspective, like the queer perspective, the idea that like it's been so common in the queer community for so long that like in public, in civil rights, in like getting married, getting apartments,
Hmm.
getting work, we're we're disadvantaged, but like in the clubs, in the nightlife, in the culture at night, in those moments, there's these liminal spaces
Hmm.
where nobody's watching or nobody cares, and
Hmm.
queer people can be queer people amongst one another and experience beauty and community for a short time in these nightclubs, right? More so than anywhere else in life,
Yeah.
right? Which is why nightlife is such a big part of queer culture often
Yeah.
almost to the extent that it becomes dominating, right? People associate queer culture with nightlife so much that for some queer people, of course, it's completely not resonant and not their lived
I
experience,
know
right?
one of them.
Yeah, exactly. So I just want to say, like, I was like watching Sinner, I was feeling the feelings, and I
Mhm.
was like, damn, ain't that how it be, right?
Yeah.
And for me, also being like living, in Germany, I'm an American. In America, I'm a German, right? So for me, always like these sort of tragic hybrid characters that resonate with both sides. And so like Mary's character, I was like, I get her and I hate her and I love her all at the same
Mhm.
time. And I was just
Yeah. Well,
that's just me saying, what a good movie, right?
yeah,
Like, it
no, what a
really
good movie.
resonated with me. It was
I like, yeah. One other aspect to the title Sinners
mhm,
is that um kind of like the sinners of the movie, the main cast.
yeah.
They
Do you
either
think those are the sinners? I
ah
feel like they're the sinners, right?
they are they are the
Like,
sinners.
Smoke and Stack are sinners for sure. I
Yeah.
think Preacher Boy is a sinner. He turns against his father and the temptation of sin,
Well,
right?
here's the thing. If we consider the resolution of the characters,
Mhm,
it's interesting to parse to start separating them. I would argue that Preacher Boy
mhm,
is not a sinner,
mhm,
and I would group Annie with him.
mhm.
I group those two, and those two don't get vampired,
Yeah,
and they make it one way or another. And then the one sinner who finds redemption
mhm,
is Smoke,
yeah.
because Smoke at the end kind of like puts a like kind of gets his Inglorious Bastards moment, but then manages to pass peacefully into the afterlife.
The
What
movie does such a great job at that moment of showing that him being a gangster is bad, but him killing racists is
is
not
good?
bad.
Yeah.
They could have really gotten their wires mixed on that one, but with a great dialogue, they just show like he's bleeding to death. He's smoking a cigarette. He
His
sees
name is
Anne.
Smoke.
His name is
His
Smoke.
gangster name is Smoke. His
Yeah,
real name is Elijah.
and he's starting to see into the afterlife because he's that close to death,
Yeah.
and he sees Annie and he sees the baby girl that him and Annie had that died shortly after birth, and Annie says to Smoke, Elijah, like, I'm here or something like that,
Mhm.
and then she says to him, if you put out that cigarette you can hold her,
Mhm.
right? I don't want any smoke getting on her,
Yeah.
right? And it's like obviously she means, I mean, the text is, of course, she doesn't want cigarette smoke getting on her, but the subtext is, of course, she doesn't want his gangster personality. She wants him to be Elijah and not to be Smoke. Then fires 40 bullets into the leader of the clan,
He just empties.
the full magazine into that guy. And then he holds the baby, and Annie doesn't say anything against it.
Yeah.
So that's not Smoke, right?
Yeah.
Killing a bunch of racists is not what makes Smoke, the gangster
Specifically
persona,
killing a
bad.
bunch of racists who came here to kill you.
Yeah, yeah. And I was just like deft. I was like, well done, movie, right? It could have been easy to sort of make that moment confusing somehow, right? But they threaded the
Yeah.
needle.
So my idea is this, yeah, is that like Sammy and Annie,
Hmm.
not sinners. They don't commit any sin.
Hmm.
You can kind of say Sammy has sleeps with a woman who is married
And rejects the church.
and
And
rejects.
Annie also rejects the beliefs of the church. So I feel like there's an argument to be made that we today would not really judge them for their actions too harshly, but that at the time they would be considered sinners.
Well, here's the thing. I think that the word sinners is not is. I don't think that this movie considers the church as the authority for who's a sinner. I think that the word sinner, in my interpretation, is genuine. Like, who are the people who are doing something bad,
So
really bad?
that's interesting. My interpretation was the movie was saying these people are sinners, but by the end of the movie is saying, but you see, being a sinner ain't so bad, right?
Yeah.
Like the church controls you through the term sinner by labeling you a sinner, and actually, our characters who are sinners, some of them are good. In fact, most of them actually are good.
Mhm.
I mean, obviously the Smoke and Stack are gangsters,
Yeah.
right? And so like they're less good,
Yeah.
but like that was my reading of it. But your reading is much more like that the movie is using the term sinners literally. Because to me, it was like the movie is using the term sinners in a biblical like sense, but at the same time informing us the Bible isn't the only moral standard to live by,
Mhm.
and in fact, our characters maybe shouldn't. Right? They should live by their own culture and their
Yeah.
own
To
beliefs.
me, that final moment where he recites "Our Father" and it doesn't work is kind of like the ultimate statement on that topic. And yeah, so like, who else do we have? We have Delta Slim.
Yeah,
Delta Slim. I mean, he's an alcoholic,
yeah,
but I would argue that his biggest crime is kind of like his him not really caring.
Yeah.
It is made explicit that like he received a lot of money, and while his friend tried to do something good with it, he just used it all into drinking. And like that plus his friend dying is kind of what got him into alcoholism.
Yeah.
So like I don't know if I were to pick, then it would be kind of like his like gluttony slash sloth,
Yeah.
kind of in a way. Who else to well smoke and stack. I don't think
I mean,
we need to yeah
they've done all of the sins.
yeah exactly. Mary Mary is interesting. She seems to be kind of dismissive of the racial prejudice that Stack is subjected to. She seems to kind of like yeah, she wants this emotional honesty and this emotional openness from him that he cannot give her, because if he does, then he has to stay with her. And if he stays with her, he knows what's going to happen.
Exactly, because she looks white and he looks black, and it's just like
Exactly.
it's not gonna work.
Exactly. Then we have Perlene.
Yeah.
Perlene cheats on her husband.
Yep.
And
Pretty easy. Open and shut.
that's an easy one, open and shut case. I don't really know about Bo, if we want to even consider him, but his wife definitely like
Wait, I'm
loses her.
sorry. Who's Bo?
Bo is the husband of the I don't remember her
Oh,
name.
right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we
Yes, the
kind of
Chinese couple.
the Chinese couple. Yeah, I don't remember her name, but his name gets said so many times
Yeah.
and her name doesn't.
Yeah. Yeah. But they own a store and they're friends
The-
with
yeah,
Smoke and
Smoke and Stack.
yeah. I don't really see them as primary characters.
They're not, but
Like
at the
it's
same
important for representation and to talk about community that they're there and for the extra music that they add to that
and
one
also
scene.
she absolutely
But I
like
feel like
she
their
triggers the
characters,
climax.
she does trigger the climax, but in a way that makes her, I don't know. I don't know. I think she's kind of infuriating. Like she's barely in the movie, and
Mhm.
in that one moment where she triggers the climax, you're as a viewer going, "But why? Stop! No, don't do that!" Right?
Yeah, like technically what she's doing is like
She invites
if
all of
we
the
fight
vampires in
because the vampires are threatening that if you don't do that, we'll just go to your home, get your daughter, turn her into one
because
of
the
us.
vampires have all the memories of
Yeah,
the
yeah,
husband, so now
exactly.
they know, right? They know about the daughter.
Yeah,
They know where
and they
she is.
surround the house. They start singing. She's like losing her mind, thinking about her daughter.
Yeah,
And in the end, she breaks down. She just like she chooses violence.
yeah.
She chooses direct
And
confrontation.
she
She
invites
invites them
them
in.
all into the
Yeah,
into the place, and that's the final climax where most of them die. Is
yeah,
at that point.
yeah. I mean, that's I guess that's her sin.
Yeah,
But she doesn't even get vampired. She just burns to death.
wrath.
Yeah, wrath. Exactly.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I'm not sure I would include her, but yeah, I think like these characters are all sinners, and the movie says at the end of the day, though, like, is it important what the church thinks of you, right? Like, I think I come to the conclusion at the end of the movie, some of these characters, they're all sinners, but some of
Mhm.
these characters are good and some of them are bad, right?
Yeah,
Like, I think Stack is kind of a bad guy. Smoke finds a little bit of redemption at the end, but let's be honest, most of his life was lived
yeah.
Inc. Well, actually, it's interesting, right? Because most of his life was lived in a bad way, but because he was given no other
That's
opportunity,
the other
right?
thing. It's like
Like,
most of these people are
I don't,
making the most out of a bad situation,
like
even the bad
I
ones.
don't feel fully confident, just like fully saying Smoke and Stack are bad, right?
Well, they have done bad
They've
things.
done many
They've
bad
done bad
things.
things. They have stained themselves
Yeah,
in a way that like they are trying to prevent
yeah,
Sammy
yeah,
to do. So they're aware that like what they are doing, like they don't want their little cousin to follow in their footsteps,
yeah.
even though they're not like actively trying to stop being who they are.
And they came from such a broken home as
Yeah.
well. Yeah, at the
Yeah,
end of
they
the day,
come from an incredibly violent. That's also like when I was
the more
talking
I think
about.
about it, the more sympathy I have for them, and
Yeah,
for their situation.
I mean, even Perlene is probably not in a happy marriage.
Exactly, right? Like, I mean, you know, I think
Delta
cheating,
Slim is
like
not.
exactly, like I think cheating on your partner is a bad thing to do, but I don't think it's by far a murderable offense, right? Like,
No, I mean all these people. I mean, even with Delta Slim, like it's hard. It's hard to say like he's definitely not a bad person. I would argue none of these are bad people, but some of them have done bad things and some of them have not.
yeah,
Sammy and Annie have not,
yeah,
and Smoke seems to be of the two like the most responsible,
yeah.
level-headed one who always tries to kind of like contain the situation, while Stack is definitely the most rambunctious one.
But getting back to the metaphor of like monsters, like I think this movie is way more interesting for the fact that the vampires aren't just racists. right?
They're not.
Like that the vampires aren't just like, you could just have given them like that southern accent that we like to give racists in
Yeah,
movies, right? And made them all clan members,
yeah,
right? And they'd be like, "Oh, the clan is gone, but,
yeah.
the barony of vampires, they're here,"
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
And it's like it's so much deeper and more poignant
Yeah,
than
and
that.
like they are, you can say that they are racist, but they're racist in the kind of like corporate colorblind way of like, we'll just like hand wave it and
Yeah.
we'll pretend that we're all the same even though we're not.
And you're gonna lose all your culture and
Yeah,
everything that makes you unique. We're all the same, literally. Like we're all the same. You can't be different.
yeah,
Um, you can't have your own culture, your own music, your own.
yeah. Another poignant thing saying
Wait, wait. I want to say, do you think the reason they have the Klan come in is to just be like, and also Mississippi was just explicitly racist as hell? You know what I mean? Like, were they like, because they clearly have a message about like assimilation and losing unique culture, right? I feel like they had the Klan come in to also say, and by the way, these people were also violently racist, and all these threats that people are constantly maneuvering around because it's 1931 Mississippi.
are necessary.
They're not being crazy, like
Yeah.
audience, it's real.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, I think so. I think that like it helps. I mean, it does so many things for the story. It 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 elevates the vampire's argument when
Mhm.
they say like this place was a slaughterhouse. You are already dead.
Yeah,
Like like being turned into a vampire is dying is presented as like, yeah, you die when you get turned into a vampire, or at least that's how they phrase it.
yeah,
Even the vampires say like we're gonna kill you all,
yeah,
but they say it in a positive manner, like, and then we can all be vampires together.
yeah,
But like they are already dead. Like the people in the club
yeah,
came here to party. Without the vampires, they would have also died.
yeah,
The vampires didn't kill them. If anything, they saved some of them.
yeah,
Stack and Mary get to be happy
yeah.
and live in vampireness.
That's actually an important point to make. So Stack and Mary, they were together, right? I mean, they are the ones where Mary wanted him to be more openly together with her, and they couldn't be because of the racism of the time, right? Not because Stack didn't want
And they
to.
get to be
And
together
they get to
in
be together for 61 years as vampires. And honestly,
for
don't
them.
don't seem that unhappy in 1992 when we see them again,
No,
right?
not
Like,
at all.
so that was really interesting.
It's interesting. Yeah, it contrasts, it elevates the vampires, and though the horror comes from the vampires, at the end of the day, it's funny how like at the end of the day, it is almost like the movie saying like this horror monster that I presented you with, all this blood and horror,
Mhm.
it's still better than the real thing.
Yeah,
And the real thing was real.
yeah,
Like what I said telling you is a fantasy, my horror monster, it's still better
yeah.
than the real deal because the real deal is that the Ku Klux Klan shows up and kills you for no reason.
Yeah. Yeah, no, and it's poignant, right? It's like it really strengthens the argument of the vampires, and it's like maybe it would have been a way out. And to me, it resonates as sort of like, yeah, like if you're a black woman, if you're a black man and a white woman, and you want to get together in 1931 Mississippi, you better make sure that you're like fully religious, prim and proper in every single regard, completely like completely fitting into what society expects from you.
Completely unthreatening,
Yeah,
always polite, never raise a voice, otherwise you're dead.
yeah, and you could actually survive that way,
Yeah,
and, like, many people did, right? I feel like that's kind of what the movie is sort of saying
yeah,
to me.
yeah. Like, yeah, if you're in this time, if you're a black woman, if you're a queer person, probably the vampires sound like a good alternative. As probably like in the 1970 by the 1960 70 standard, when this kind of like corporate colorblind started being a
Mm,
thing after the hippie movement. Probably some people saw it, or a lot of people might have seen it as progress. And then in the 1990s and in the early 2000s, we started seeing that actually maybe we should recognize the
yeah,
differences.
it's kind of like, um uh, equal in value, but not in attributes,
Hmm.
right? To get there, it kind of makes sense that you intuitively first need to go through the concept of equal first,
Yeah.
right? And then you get to the nuance of, well, okay, equal in value, but not in characteristics. We each bring our own different thing,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Um, and now, I don't know, I feel like we're at the point where we're in retrograde in the US, or like we need to get back to equal. But we still need to keep this other thing in mind, but also just equal itself is starting to be
Yeah.
challenged, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, I think that's why the movie also resonates today,
Yeah.
still.
Yeah. Absolutely. And Yeah, one final note that
Mhm.
is interesting is the Choctaw position in all of this. They're not here much, but they're there.
I
They
was wondering if they were gonna come back. I mean, it felt like a Chekhov's gun situation. We've set up that they're here hunting the vampires. Are they gonna show up at a moment of critical need and help us fight the
I'm
vampires?
sure that there was a version of the script where they show up in the end and they blast all the vampires.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, the sun isn't rising yet. We're
Oh, that's also one thing. The sun rises at the end, and all most of the vampires get caught in it, and they burn. And it just looks like a scene out of like Revelations,
Mhm.
or like a scene of like what biblical hell looks like, right? Like all of these people in this big inferno of flame. That was to me another one of these like Christian imaging moments. But
Yeah.
anyways, yeah,
Yeah, no, I just wanted to say, sure, there was a version like that, and then at some point, the plot changed, and he just didn't want to cut them out completely.
yeah,
So he kept their introduction and said, like, this is enough.
yeah.
They're here. They know what's up.
These people understand the ancient ways. They understand
Yeah,
that vampires exist, and
yeah,
how to deal with them.
yeah. I told you this already, but like, I want to bring it up again. There is a kind of like a feeling of like, the American culture has become so like white American culture is hegemonic
Hmm.
and is the kind of like the standard in the US.
Yeah,
And also people from other countries who move to the US in like the late 19th century or probably earlier too,
yeah,
basically before the 1950s or something, who moved to the US, have had the trend of like assimilating into
yeah.
white American culture and
Yeah, so I
living
mean,
back
I
with.
can speak on this a little bit,
Mhm,
right? Like, so my grandparents, on my dad's side are, my grandfather's from Persia, my grandmother's from France. They met in Paris and then moved on to Canada, but then the US in the 1950s, right? And they were always consumed by the desire to be 110% American, they
mhm.
would call it, right? My grandfather's birthday is in summer. They're not sure exactly what day it was on. Well, as soon as they arrived in the US, they became confident it was July 4th, right? They didn't teach French to my dad or his siblings. They didn't teach Farsi, the Persian language, to my dad or any of his siblings. They didn't carry over any of the traditions. They definitely didn't carry over Islam or anything like that, right?
God forbid.
Exactly. Always like 110%.
See what I did there?
Yeah, exactly. Always like 110% American, right? Whereas it was sort of the next generation, right? My dad's generation, where like my aunt is very into rediscovering Persian culture and
That's a
learning
typical
about
thing with
things.
like the children of the migrants
Yeah.
and their journey.
So yeah, definitely. I mean, when my grandfather, my grandmother showed up in the US, it was not a cool thing to bring your diversity,
No.
right? It was hot dogs, hamburgers, and speaking English.
Yeah. I have a friend who has a similar family history, but like I don't know what I can share, so we're not. But um, enough to say she doesn't speak the language that her family originally comes from.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I wanted to say, and also also if you're like German, there's a case of like people in Wisconsin
Mhm.
who like have all this German stuff, but they don't recognize it as German the way that like Irish or Italian people who were not treated as the same as white back then
Mhm.
still would go like recognize it's like, yeah, pizza's from Italy.
Yeah.
Chicago pizza maybe is not, but like
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
still,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
pizza.
yeah,
Pizza is
yeah.
from Italy. There is an incentive if you could pass for like American to kind of sterilize yourself from any other cultural
And
connotation.
become like this white, monolithic, white picket fence, Bible holding, hegemonic sort of, or homogenous
Yeah,
sort of mass, right?
yeah.
And that
And
that
some people didn't have the privilege.
exactly. And that scene with the transcendent moment of music where we see
Yeah.
all these cultures, past and future,
Mhm.
Chinese, West African, right? And maybe Native American, all being shown together, right? That was for me such a beautiful moment because that was like, this is what, for me today in my generation, I'm like, this is what America is about, right? Bringing the best ideas from all over the world together, from being people from all over the world, we bring cultures from all over the world together and letting them all coexist and co-express themselves in a beautiful, multifaceted garden
Mhm.
in which people are different but equal because the governmental system treats them equally. The governmental system is made by bringing all the best ideas together, but the culture still shows all the diversity and beauty from where everybody's from, right? And that's why I would like That's why I was like, I loved that moment so much. I was like, this is what I want it to be. This is what I want America to be about, you know?
Yeah. Um, yeah. So yeah, I was bringing this up. I mean, yeah, I was bringing this up because yeah, these communities,
Hmm.
the ones that are brought up explicitly in their opening narration,
Yeah.
are the Irish, are West Africa, could refer to as West Africa, and then the Choctaw. And so these are all communities naturally have retained a lot more of their original identity because they had no choice, because they couldn't blend in. They
Yeah.
were not allowed to blend in,
Especially the latter two.
especially the latter two. But I would say that to me,
Mm.
I hear a lot about French St. Patrick's Day and Irish Americans and Italian Americans. I don't hear about the strong French American community, and every year they celebrate
Yeah.
the Day de la Résistance.
Yeah, and like even like German Americans, I feel like, I mean, it's so funny because you meet people. I met people in Wisconsin with last names like, Schneider, and they're like Snyder is how they pronounce it, right? Or like
Zack Snyder.
exactly. Yeah, exactly. Like literally, like that's a German last name, right? And other people with like I mean, just the most German last names you've ever heard, like Blittenbauer or whatever, right? And of course, the Americans butcher the pronunciation, and they have no, and they're like, oh yeah, I don't. It was funny because I was talking about where my family was from, and then this person called like Schneider or whatever would say to me, oh yeah, I'm not even sure where my family's from, and I'm like,
I know that.
I can tell you where some of them are from at
I
least.
don't know where the patrilineage line is from.
Yeah.
I don't know who married into it, but
Yeah, exactly, And, they were celebrating this harvest fest that is exactly like the German Erntedankfest, and I'm like, but they don't know it, right? Pretzels, beer, bratwurst, like all these German foods that are so big in
it's so
Wisconsin.
funny.
And like,
They're only missing a little bust of Otto von Bismarck, calling him like Funny Mustache Man.
yeah,
He's the mascot. He's Funny Mustache Man
and
with a Pickelhaube.
yeah, exactly. But people just have like no awareness of how German it is, And it's like, there's like a Berlin in
That area.
Wisconsin. There's like multiple Berlins and like all sorts of like other German named towns. And I mean, with Berlin, they must be aware, right? But like, sometimes you feel like people are so unaware that they're living examples of of old culture, right? Because they just see themselves as white. Right?
Yeah,
We're just I'm just a white normie American.
and so it's peculiar that like the vampires in this, also the vampires in this movie, are first and foremost, the first one we meet is an Irishman who desperately longs for connection to his ancestors, and he wants to basically capture Sammy
Yeah.
and use his power. And he says, "We will make beautiful music together. I want your stories, you can have mine." He kind of wants this colorblind melting pot that kind of like turns everything into a gray goo. But he is in pain.
Yeah.
He appears to be suffering because he appears to feel this genuine love and like relief when he is dancing his Irish ballad,
Yeah.
and he is not alone. He's surrounded by all these people. None of them are Irish,
Yeah.
but because they share all their minds. So like, but we can, all these black people are singing the Irish song,
Yeah.
and he's doing his dance, and everybody is just so happy. And yeah, I always wondered his final look when he's like dying.
Mhm.
I felt like he has this moment where he tries to pull out
Mhm.
the thing and he just gives up. And I always wondered, did he just gives up because he realizes it's pointless? Does he give up because he actually feels a bit of relief that
Mhm.
he's finally
Yeah.
passing to the afterlife?
The
Or
afterlife, which is the location where the people are he's so desperately trying to reach, right?
yeah,
It's an important thing to note
yeah,
that
he's
one of
trapped.
Remek's main motivations is there are spirit, I want your music so we can make beautiful music together, so we can create these transcendent moments, so I can speak to the spirits who are dead, who I want to be in communion with. He desperately
Probably his
wants to
family and
be
his the
with
pe-
the people he used to know who are now in the
yeah,
afterlife,
he's so old.
but he
He
can't
is,
see that dying is the way to get there.
or maybe vampirism just inherently prevents you from.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. And so
it.
that's an important detail actually of the movie, right? Is
Yeah,
his core motivation is not to be separated from his ancestors anymore, right?
yeah, yeah. By the way, Ramek is so old that he is from the time that like Ireland was Christianized.
Mhm.
That's a very old time ago.
Yeah, I mean, he says at least, I mean, maybe he's speaking in metaphors, but what he does literally say is, those were the words of the men who stole my father's land,
Yeah,
right? Which would imply that, like, if it's literal, it would imply he was born during the Christianization of Ireland, right?
yeah. But those were not his words. They
Yeah.
were the words of the people taking his father's. Yeah. So yeah, he's so old. But I think there is. This is not. I don't know if this ties into the metaphor at all. I think this is just like a visual aesthetical thing that associated with vampires. They can't see the sun because Stack says at the end that that was the best day of his life too. The last day he saw his brother, and the last day he saw the sun,
Mhm.
and like
He
this,
felt the sun.
he
Yeah.
felt the sun, and like they also there's the song that plays there explicitly says last time I see the sun I was something something, but like that's part of it. And Remick is looking at the sun. Like when Remick gives up on pulling out the stake, he's just like looking, and then we cut to like the sun,
Yeah.
and then it's him being burned, completely burned, and like exploding into a pillar of fire.
Yeah, maybe I think he probably accepts it at the end. That's my interpretation of it.
Mm.
Of course, we can't know, but
Mm.
I feel to me after you pointed out those elements again, yeah, I think he's maybe there's a part of him that's like, oh, this is the way.
It's over.
Yeah,
Or like, yeah.
let's just feel the sun one last time. I'll be with them soon, with the
Mhm.
people I desperately want to be with.
Yeah.
You know. All right. Well, we talked about K-pop Demon Hunters and how their metaphor is a bit mixed. We
Mhm.
talked about Sinners and how it pulls off its themes and its metaphor really, really
Excellently.
well. Um, any closing thoughts, or do we want to move on to the plugs?
Well, I already have, but I will
Mm-hmm.
uh plug these movies
Mm-hmm.
before we move on to the plugs. I just
Mm-hmm.
want to say these two movies are great.
Yeah.
I think that, if I were going to place any bets, Sinner's gonna win some Oscars this year because it's just that good. Um, I have I have brought up this movie to you a lot, and
Mhm.
I've always said like it's so good, you gotta watch, you're gonna
Mhm.
have such a field day with it, and
Mhm.
you did.
Yeah.
Like you did have a field day with it.
It's good.
Would you say that did I in any way like oversell it to you, or did you end
No,
the
I
movie
think it's
going like,
funny
damn?
actually because the most recent thing that you said to me is like, it's funny. I watched this movie. Everybody was saying it was really good, and I watched it and I came out with the opinion. Yeah, actually, it is exactly really good. Like the hype level was actually
Yeah,
100%
I was
appropriate,
wondering.
commensurate with the. I feel similar. I'm like, yeah, you kept telling me how good this movie was, so I came in with inflated expectations that were fully met. I would say this movie is really good. Like this movie is like on my to 10 scale. I would say this movie is like a 9 or a 10.
Yeah,
Like I think I will remember this movie. This is a movie I'm gonna want to show to people. You know.
this movie is so good that I think that like if halfway through the movie,
Hmm.
or like if the movie continued from halfway through,
Hmm.
there were no vampires. We just did the story. I would be so into that movie. Like I would want to
I
watch
just
the version of this movie just because the character is so good, the drama is so compelling. I like if there were no vampire ever showed up, I would watch that.
I just want to hear the music, man. I just want to hear that music.
Go on Spotify. I have my own little like compilation. Like, this is my Sinners collection because there's just so many songs. And there's two albums, by the way.
Mhm.
One of them is like the songs actually sung. They're actually sung. Many of them are not original, like Rocky Road to Dublin, but many of the others as well. Some of them are. And then there is the soundtrack that is actually just like this. Let's call it the standard soundtrack of just like
Yeah.
arrangements without any lyrics.
Yeah.
And yeah, I haven't heard many. I haven't heard that one much. There's only Thy Kingdom Come, which is this the final one. Heavy metal when
Mhm.
we are singing, we are not singing, we are reciting Our Father, and we're killing Remick, which is it's really hard.
Yeah.
But yeah. Anyway,
Yeah. Okay.
plugs.
Plugs.
Or do you have any final notes?
No. No, I agree. Plugs. My plug this week is going to be go out and exercise. Uh, it's you don't need to be a pro to do it. You don't even need to do it at a high level. You don't even need to be getting better at what you're doing. Just going out regularly and exercising a little bit is good for you. Treat it like any habit. Start small and you can grow along the way if you get bored of what you're doing. Try to find something that you enjoy, but it's just good for you. And it's so good for me. And I've just been kind of rediscovering it recently because I've come out of a bout of more stressful times into a bout with less things to do every day. So I've had more time to prioritize it again, even though I should prioritize it even when I'm busy, because I realize how much better it makes me feel. So like it just makes me feel more evened out, more happy. I sleep better. So
Mhm.
go do
All
it.
right.
It might be good for you.
Mhm. All right. Well, I'm gonna return to my dead horse,
Hmm.
and I'm gonna beat it a little bit.
Hmm.
I finished Endor season 2, and
Hmm.
I watched Rogue One.
Hmm.
Um, boy howdy, what a journey.
Mhm.
I think Andor season 2 shares the same quality of writing
Mhm.
of Andor season 1.
Mhm.
I think it shares some of its small flaws,
Mhm.
but in general, I would say that maybe it reaches higher highs
Yep.
than Andor season 1,
Mhm.
even. So go watch it.
Mhm.
It's great. Maybe Ender season 1 has a couple of like has more hype moments,
Mhm.
maybe, or like great speeches delivered. But I think season 2 in general has some like episodes that are like knocking out of the park consecutively.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
there's like a row of couple of episodes that are like
yeah.
they keep knocking it out of the park. In general, great ending.
Episodes that you don't need to want to like with much of Star Wars. I feel like,
Yeah,
episodes that you just like.
yeah. The ending knocks out of the park. Final episode is great.
Yeah.
I said it already. When I said again, I want to do an episode about like Arcane, Andor, and Foundation.
Mhm. Oh boy.
Yeah, it's gonna be an interesting. It's an
We
interesting
gotta
way.
watch even more.
Even you have to watch Apple's Foundation now. I'm sorry, we're back to
Oh,
the trash. It's not trash,
no.
but it's not good. No, we don't have to watch it.
Mhm.
We'll see. I could still change my mind. I keep
Yeah.
you on your feet, keep you
Mhm.
on your toes. But yeah, and it's really great how it moves into Rogue One.
Mhm.
Like it's some final moments or like nods to Rogue One gave me kind of like chills. Like I need to watch Rogue One now.
Yeah.
And rewatching Rogue One is not a perfect movie. It has a first half that, in my opinion, has a lot of like writing, questionable writing choices, but really pulls off a great
Mhm.
second
Yeah.
act. And like the emotion of Andor helped me a lot through that first half of Andor.
Yeah.
And of course, the second half becomes even more brutal,
Yeah.
and even more poetic in a way. I watched it with Copernicus. Copernicus watched Rogue One for the first time with the Andor
Yeah.
thing. And I think if I could, I would recommend everyone to first watch Andor and then watch Rogue One for the first time.
Mhm.
I think the movie's only benefits
Yeah.
from that. Of course, watching Andor with a little bit of hindsight
Mhm.
gives you this like bitterness because
Mhm.
you know what the whole journey is about. And there are some really heartbreaking episodes in season 2 specifically that are more heartbreaking
Yeah.
because you know that
Yeah.
Andor is not
Yeah.
gonna make it off that beach.
Yeah.
But boy, what a ride! Is this the best Star Wars thing ever made? Arguably,
Yeah, I mean,
arguably,
that's like kind of an inflated title, but yeah, maybe. I mean, it's definitely the best. I
it's the
think it's
best. It's the best post original trilogy
exactly.
thing. Like the
That's what I was gonna
sequels,
say. Yeah.
the prequels. I'm sorry, guys, they're still bad.
But it's definitely the best sequel material that was made. And the only sequel material next to maybe Mandalorian, although I know you and I disagree about that a little bit, that I would say is kind of required watching if you want to watch the good stuff from Star Wars and be a Star Wars fan.
I would say like if you want to watch the good stuff of Star Wars, throw Mandalorian season 1 and like most of 2 in there.
Yeah.
But like also, I don't know. I
Don't
wouldn't I
throw
would
season
I
three.
wouldn't shake a person telling them watch Mandalorian, please. I would do that with Andor.
Yeah. All right. Well, with all that said and done, that just about does it for episode 51 of the podcast. You can find more on youtube.com/at a friendly orbit, as well as on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And if you're feeling frisky and want to send us some of your thoughts and comments, just comment below. But if you want to send us an email at a friendlyorbit@gmail.com. All one word.
All right, Ceres, I'll talk to you later. And to all of our fellow Voyagers, we'll catch you out there amongst the stars.